Dr. Evelyn, I'm going to come to you next, and it would be good to hear from you, knowing that you, I would say, have been established. You're a consultant, and I know what that means in the medical space. You're a fellow of the College of Public Health Professionals, and then you did a career move. You moved into management consulting. Being a doctor myself, I know how the difference between the ways of working in both spaces. How have you been able to navigate that? How has innovation and technology supported that process or that journey? And how has Sydani played a role?
Thank you, Dr. Falake, and happy International Women's Day to everyone on the call. So coming into Sydani, I really worried about how I was going to settle in from where I was coming from. And also I had to worry about how to fit into this new career path that I knew not so much about. But then getting into the organization, first off, there was an onboarding session for me to intimate me on all of the different sections or all of the units in the organization and how they operate. And then I found that there was this system called the ERP, which is the Enterprise Planning Resource, that had so many resources that I could use. So there was a repository on it that had like a lot of materials and documents that just helped me, like understand what the organization actually does. There were lots of PowerPoint presentations. There were lots of books on various frameworks that I could very easily access and just, jump on whatever projects that I was put on. And beyond this, there is also like a really, really robust Microsoft package that the organization has that has things like the SharePoint, where you are working on a document and you have someone also reviewing and working on that same document with you. And this really helps because I could, be sharing my thoughts with someone who, better understood at the time what I was trying to achieve. And that also helps a lot with moving forward some of the work I was trying to do. Also on the ERP, because I joined on the middle management level, I had teams to work with and people to actually lead. The ERP also provides sort of like a tracking system where if a team member is going to be absent from work, the person indicates on that system, and you're then better able to rotate the team in a way that you can still get your deliverables to happen before close of business that day, as opposed to not knowing what's going on and if the person was still going to deliver and not really being able to track what the person was doing. Also, online collaborations with virtual conferencing also helped a lot. So collaborating with other partners, funders, and just having discussions with them around things to do with consulting actually went like a really long way in helping. And if anybody knows anything about management consulting, you have to be a problem solver. And, that was something that I kind of struggled with initially, but it was made easier because the organization provides a platform where we meet literally every week to have sessions and discussions. And to take it a step further, there are capacity building opportunities where sometimes people from other consultants speak about what consulting really is about, and to look at some frameworks that you can apply that you may not necessarily have gone out to look for, that it opened my eyes to. So another aspect is the fact that there's always available connectivity in Sydani. So there's no time that you're here and you cannot access the internet. And that, has done a lot. So it has opened up opportunities to, even take courses on Coursera in management consulting that has helped me move forward in this career. So right now, I don't feel so lost as I did when I joined initially. And I mean, I would encourage anybody who wants to venture into this career path from the medical line. And, you know, I mean, it's really interesting. So you might want to try it.
Thank you, Evelyn. If you're just joining us, this is the Sydani Live webinar where we're talking about women driving innovation and technology. We're discussing the future forward female in commemorating the International Women's Day. Happy International Women's Day to you. If you have questions, please feel free to drop them on the chat box. We'll get to them in the last few minutes of the webinar, and you're welcome. Rejoice, I'll come back to you. So in this time, we know that a lot of things are driven by technology. I mean, the current time that we're in, or era that we're in, a lot of things are driven by technology. How would you describe the future forward female, you know, from the backdrop of how technology supports that description? How would you describe, who would you say is the future forward female?
Well, thank you, Dr. Falake. In trying to define who the future forward female is, I would want to use myself as a mirror. So I would define that as someone, first of, who is not afraid to take up space. I got into a conversation with someone, and the bottom line was women are more against applying for things which they are not qualified for, as opposed to men. And I think this is something that is even scientifically proven. So you find that men just believe in themselves so much that if they see some job opening, or if they see an opportunity, and they're like, we can do it, we can take it. But then women are more like, I don't fit into this box, I don't fit into this box. So in defining who a forward female or a future forward female is, I would say it is one who doesn't think that she can't do, but sees herself as one who can do it all. And I'm really grateful for Sydani. Aside the level of representation we have at the mid-level management level and at the management level of staff, we have a lot of representation from the female gender. We see them portray the I can do it all mentality, and not only just portraying it by word of mouth, but actually doing it. So in defining that woman, I want everyone to know that that woman is one who sees everything as being able to do and who actually works towards doing it. And then finally, who leverages resources. They define men as people, and resources can be defined as a number of things: human, resource, financial. But I would define this as one who leverages relationships. Men are known as people who are easygoing, who don't burn bridges, because they are always very cordial. But I would like to employ women and the future women that they should always learn to leverage relationships. They shouldn't shy away from asking for help. They should seize every opportunity there is and not feel the need to think that this is not really something a woman can do, or this is me doing too much. It's something that women are being defined as, and they tend to like step back, and I don't want to be seen like that. I don't think we should do that. Men wouldn't do that. So I would define a future forward female as one who takes up space and one who leverages her relationship and her network to get whatever it is that she wants.
Great. So you heard it from Rejoice. Take up space, leverage your networks. Don't be afraid to say you can do it, even if you can't. I'm not sure you're referring to the fake it to make it thing. If that's not what you're talking about, right? But just believing in yourself as a woman and acknowledging the power that you have and harnessing that power to do what you know that you can do. Thanks for sharing that, Rejoice. Vivian, so let me come to you with this question, because we're talking about you being a working mother and how Sydani has supported that. Do you think, generally speaking, in the world, that being a woman, that gender is somewhat disadvantaged in occupying a leadership or management role? And what would you recommend or advise that the world, and maybe even Sydani, does to support women to begin to take up that space that Rejoice was referring to. So are we disadvantaged in any way? Does that gender make us disadvantaged? And what would you recommend be done to improve that advantage for us? Rejoice, Vivian, your mic is muted. You have to unmute your mic.
Sorry about that, Dr. Folake. Response to your question, I agree women are disadvantaged several levels, both at the younger level and also at the leadership or even the professional level. Starting with the younger generation. I mean, you have girls and ladies at the secondary level not being interested in courses they think or career paths they think are male specific or male male specific, and that's looking at tech, looking at science, looking at engineering and things like that. Courses like that and professions like that. I think we need to encourage girls at the secondary level. We need to encourage them and enable them understand that they can actually go into this area. If you don't build that at that level, I mean, they get to the higher level and we see ourselves complaining about very few women in leadership positions in tech, science, and engineering. So I think we should take steps into encouraging young girls at that level to uptake these courses and also consider this career path. I mean, they are the future of tomorrow, right? So if we don't start at that level, we shouldn't expect them to then uptake them at the higher level. At the professional level, yes, and I'm going to then consider myself being a woman, being a mother. There are disadvantages, there are limitations. Of course, Sydani has tried to ensure that they mitigate all those lapses or all those limitations that might come with being a mother. But then there are organizations out there who have not considered it. And you have things like motherhood requires you to be away for a while to take care of your child. And in your absence, a lot has gone on. You have missed out on meetings. You have missed out on activities that's supposed to put you out there for professional growth. You have missed out in those areas. And so organizations should consider the absence of these ladies and come up with policies that will help them not to miss out in these areas. Yes. In things that they should have missed out on in their absence. So the absence of the time they have given to motherhood or family shouldn't then be a limitation for women in their professional growth.
Amazing. I completely agree. I don't think any woman should have to choose between her career or growing professionally and being a mother or attending to life's demands and family demands or responsibilities. So yes, I completely agree with you. Thanks for sharing that. And I agree with you also that women and girls should be encouraged to, specialize or take up courses in science and technology so that we can begin to chart a path for ourselves in those areas as well and begin to take up those roles as we grow. So thanks for sharing that, Vivian. And I would just like to come back to Evelyn to just, hear your voice as well around how we can close the digital divide. Vivian has talked about encouraging women, encouraging girls through the early years to take courses in STEM. What other steps do you recommend be taken to close that digital divide, and especially in the design of solutions to address public health outcomes or to improve public health outcomes? You agree with me that there are a lot of things going on now addressing maternal and child health, sexual and reproductive health for adolescent women and girls. What key things can we do to address that digital divide to make sure that as we design solutions, women are at the fore of designing those intuitive solutions, but they're also the ones that are benefiting the most from those solutions? Evelyn?
Thank you, Dr. Folake. So looking at ways to close this divide will be across a lot of factors. And one of the first factors I would like to consider will be at the government or at the political level, where from the beginning of planning for gender-related, would I say, activities or projects for the country. So gender mainstreaming should be encouraged at that level, such that activities that would impact the lives of girls and women are well planned for from the beginning. And then also looking at the economic aspects of it. I know that Vivian touched a bit about it, but it's such that most of the science and tech, like innovations that we think about are mostly tailored around girls in the urban settings. And when you look at girls in the rural settings, they don't even have an opportunity to get an education before they are even opportune to choose to be on one of the STEM courses that would then move them forward to be able to have a voice in science and technology. So if there are opportunities for girls, even in rural areas, to be able to access education via affordable schooling or even free schooling if possible, this would probably give them a platform to even get to the point where they decide that I want to be on STEM or a course that at least puts me at a place where I could eventually have a voice in science and technology. And also at the family level, so you find that a lot of families would rather encourage men to go into professions that they consider male-dominated and then discourage the female. And this is a problem because the way our educational system works, if you don't take certain courses at the secondary level, then it is impossible to then advance at the, would I say, tertiary or university level. So families should pay attention to these aspects of the life of girls, because as the saying goes, you educate a girl child and you educate an entire nation. So if this is taken into consideration, then it would help. Another aspect is, like there's internet out there, there's a lot of information out there for girls. And I see that in the, like Western communities or international communities, you find that when girls' interests in STEM courses, they are given certain scholarships or encouraged in a way that they want to move forward in those courses. So if we have those kinds of initiatives here in Nigeria, that would move the girls forward. Now that is on the parts of the parents and the government. Now on the part of the girls have to believe in themselves, because the first thing is to believe in yourself, because we just mentioned earlier that we're raised in a way that we're not supposed to speak up or take up space. Now, this is something that we need to be intentional about developing for ourselves. We need to have that voice, because, without voice, without power, then there's vulnerability. And with vulnerability, you cannot advance in, like in any field, especially in male-dominated fields where, there are lots of glass ceilings and women cannot break through. So my advice would be that girls should really, like give themselves, the confidence to say, I can actually do this and go for it. And I'll just like to say that Sydani is a very gender-aware organization, and they've been very, very intentional about gender inclusivity. So you would see that coming into this organization, I mean, on a personal level, a lot has changed for me, because I see there are no disparities. There are no, gender pay gaps. There are no differences. I feel like the ratio of female to male in Sydani is even higher. Like the female ratio is higher than the male ratio actually. And this is really an encouraging thing. And it's such that there are no barriers to what you can achieve. Yeah. So, and I also feel it's because of the way the organization has made us feel, the culture of the organization. So it's also encouraging for organizations, or rather to encourage organizations out there to include women and girls in all of their planning in the organization, to ensure that they have the confidence to actually speak up and take up space, as Rejoice would say. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we need to hashtag that thing, take up space, and just put women, girl power images.
I agree.
Stamping next to embrace equity. Hashtag embrace equity, hashtag take up space. Okay, thank you so much, girls, ladies, for sharing your experiences and your journeys. I'm going to come to the man championing all of these amazing achievements, Mr. Sidney Sampson, the voice, the face behind Sydani, and all of the beautiful things that you guys have described. Mr. Sidney, thank you for joining us on this call, on this webinar, and for taking time out of your busy schedule. We know that you're a woman champion, so it's not surprising that you're here today. Can you share a bit about the vision, Sydani, and how women have been instrumental to driving that vision?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Olake, and all on the call. Really happy to be here and to see the beautiful faces of all our Sydani women. And a big shout out to everyone represented by the beautiful faces on the call, saying congratulations on the International Women's Day and saying that we really do appreciate all of you. Behind all of the work that we've been doing, women have been driving that. Folake and her crew, it's been a wonderful set of years working with all of you. And talking about the Sydani vision. Sydani vision is one where we are able to solve problems wherever we find them, no matter how complex, with proven methods, and working with everyone to make sure that those problems really do get solved and in a sustainable way. Working with women at the fore, and how women come into this and all. First is this lady Folake that is championing the conversation. From the very early days of Sydani, when she joined the team, there has been a lot of progress, and in shaping the vision, there was intentionality in making sure that a woman's perspective was actually part of it. She was very instrumental in what we called the Sydani visioning sessions, where she sat with the management team to hash out the vision and put it in a very good structure. And also, first, in terms of the vision, a lady has always been involved in designing that. And for me, like most other of my colleagues, Rejoice, Evelyn, Vivian have all mentioned, we believe in the flatness of an organization. We believe that every person's voice matters, irrespective of who you are. It's about your voice. It has nothing at all to do with your gender. It has nothing to do, so long as what you are saying in our Sydani way, so long as it makes sense, then it makes sense. It doesn't matter who it's coming from. And that is what has really helped us as an organization to remain flat, to remain responsive to all of the things that have been happening in our space, and actually to also catapult us to the levels that we have achieved over this period, and believing in the fact that anybody can be anything they want to be. And like some of the teams have mentioned, create space, occupy space, take up space, all of that. We allow and encourage the women to take up space. And if you look at a quick set of numbers from the Sydani team, you see that about 53% are actually women. So Evelyn is right in saying, yes, we actually have more women than men in Sydani, which is a great feat, again, which shows how we are being intentional about all of the work. And in whatever decision that is being made to bring in women, the other part is if you look at those heading projects, the different teams, you find out that probably, I think it's even a higher, maybe 70% of projects within Sydani are headed by women. So a lot of times women are leading the thinking. They are leading the shaping of the Sydani vision, because for us, we are a learning organization and we want to learn from everyone. We don't like to say we have learned everything. We like to always improve on whatever we are doing. And having the women at the helm of affairs means that they drive that learning, they drive the engagement, they are the face of Sydani. These women you see here, they are the ones on the panel, they are big women representing Sydani at different, whether it's talking to the highest levels in the states or at the federal or even in international spaces, they represent Sydani. And I think that is the vision we are creating, a world where everyone is equal, regardless of your gender, and you can contribute to the global impact of making the world a better place for everyone in it.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mr. Sidney. So I like what you said about women driving the vision and women being at the fore of designing solutions, the interventions and projects that we're implementing. Can you share a bit about some of those projects? We're aware of the wristband for immunization alert that won the Grand Challenges prize from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. You were the designer of that technology-driven solution. What other technology-driven solutions have Sydani or is Sydani working on to ensure that women's issues, health issues, social issues, development issues are being addressed leveraging technology?
Right. No, there are a number of them. Some, of course, are technology-based. Not all of them might be, but like you said, the first was the wristband for immunization alert that I designed and we rolled out in Kano State, particularly to help women in the most rural areas who are uneducated, to make sure that their children get life-saving vaccines at the right time and are fully protected. That was something that was born out of, again, the yearning to make sure that people are not left behind, especially women. Understanding that not all women in some places are equally empowered to provide the best care and support for their children. So understanding that and having close interaction with some of them in those rural places, in the line of engagement with Kano State, we came up with that intervention to actually have women have a technological solution. It's a wristband, I wish I could pull it up, that actually shows the mothers who can't read and write when they need to take their children to the health facilities for immunization. The working assumption of the health system was that once you are given a vaccination card, you should be able to read it and know, based on your calendar and all what's written there, to come back with your child when the time is right. But what if you can't read, which is the case of a lot of women who are uneducated in the remote rural northern areas and some other parts of Nigeria? What if you can't read and write? What happens? What becomes of your child? You end up either not taking them back or taking them at the wrong times. So to make sure that the vaccines that they got had the maximum efficacy, you need to take them at a particular time. And that was what that special intervention funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation achieved. And it helped the women. They had the fancy band. And in designing it again, in bringing that concept to life, Dan Folake was also part of the team that was leading that work, designed it in a way that was really inclusive of their thoughts, engaged them, got their perspectives, got what worked and what didn't work for them, what they could accept and couldn't accept. And after designing the band, we saw how happy they were to use the band, and it actually did work. That's one intervention that we did that was really impactful and particularly focused on women. We've had two other projects that also are trying to address or successfully addressed women's challenges, amongst others. I can't list all of them. There was the one on PSAN, which was helping women in IDP camps, again, coming to the help of women who have no other means of help, trying to help them escalate challenges that they face in their homes in terms of gender-based violence, giving them access to be able to even escalate, report in a safe way the issues they face, and linking them up to providers that can come in to support. So we're able to set up phone lines, toll-free lines that they could call and report cases of gender-based violence, within IDP camps and all. And we tie them up to the relevant to other government teams and project teams that could help them and all. Besides that, we also went a step further with another project too, to also do the same thing and build on the learnings from PSAN in reducing gender-based violence, working again with even a wider spectrum of IDP camps within the FCT to make sure that women using technology had access to to people, to resources that could help them feel safer in their homes, especially if they're in abusive marriages and all of that. So those are some of the things we've done. Of course, there is the big other work that we do in terms of immunization and just making sure that people get the vaccines that they need, that women have the empowerment to get their children vaccinated. There are the work we've done around making sure that there is social inclusion, that women are included in programming. And some of the things we are beginning to also move forward is gender transformational activities, being able to make sure that with our programs, we're not just assuming that all fingers are equal, that we need to actually intentionally help the women do better. Because a lot of times, like most of the people on the panels have said, the odds are stacked against them. So how are we reversing those odds? How are we making deliberate attempts and efforts to make sure that they get a little more advantage to actually start overcoming those odds?
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. It gladdens my heart to see that we have people intentional about bridging this divide and just helping to improve the advantages and provide opportunities and access for women to grow, to advance in their careers and to get equitable services in primary healthcare space. If you're just joining, we're in the last few minutes of the International Women's Day webinar, where Sydani is having conversations with amazing women and the visionary of Sydani himself, talking about how to bridge the digital divide, how to create more opportunities and access for women to accelerate their careers. If you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat box. If you prefer to raise your hand, please go ahead and raise your hand and we would come to you and take any questions you have in the last few minutes. I think there's a question here and it says, as a tech consultant, do you stand a chance in gaining entry in Sydani? I think I'll have two people answer that. I'll have one person from the ladies and then Mr. Sidney himself just provide an answer. So Rejoice, as a tech consultant, do you stand a chance in gaining entry in Sydani?
I'm just going to go with the very straight answer. Yes, you do. And I would say why. Sydani is a hub for problem solvers. So as long as you qualify as someone who thinks innovatively and someone who is very keen on problem solving, you have space in Sydani. There is enough space in Sydani for people who are smart, who are creative, who are innovative, who have a zeal to solve problems that exist in a number of sectors in Nigeria. I would refer you to our website to do research, but you have space in Sydani as long as you carry all these qualities that I have listed.
Thank you. The website, by the way, is www.sydani.org. So if you want to take on board Rejoice's comments, please feel free to go to the website and you have more information. Mr. Sidney, so does a tech consultant stand a chance in gaining entry in Sydani?
Absolutely, yes. He or she does. And I don't see why the person should even have this question. Rejoice has done perfect justice to answering the question as to what we look out for. And just one part, if other people will also be asking, is an agro-scientist eligible to apply for Sydani? Is a farmer? Whatever you are eligible so long as you tick up those things that Rejoice mentioned. We are looking for people who are innovative in their thinking. We are looking for people who can think through problems and bring very creative solutions. So whoever you are, whatever you studied, that is not what we look out for. What we look out for is your ability to actually think and provide solutions that are innovative and can make sustainable impact. So please, let what you studied don't limit you. Let who you are now should not limit you. Just if you're really interested in what we do and you think you can be, and we believe you can be, then you can apply.
Thank you. And from the name, I think it's a female who asked that question. So particularly, we even look for females. Like Mrs. Sidney said, we're intentional about improving that equity, that balance. And right now, there are even more females. So please come join us, increase the number of females at Sydani. Let's have a voice. Let's take up space at Sydani. Mr. Sidney, I was hoping you would share some more about Sydani Technologies. I don't know if I'm letting the cat out of the bag too quickly, but if you don't mind, could you share something about Sydani Technologies, the vision, and hopefully maybe Stephanie, who asked that question, will see her role with Sydani.
Okay. Sydani Technologies is a technology first firm that is part of the Sydani Group family of organization that is trying to bring technological solutions to problems again within the society. And there's so much to do there. So as it were, I know that Sydani Technologies is actually looking for tech people. So that's already, again, cementing the fact that we are always looking for people. For Sydani Technologies, we know that the future is technology driven. Everything in the future is about technology, and you have to think in the technology way to actually be able to address those problems. That's why we have an arm that is dedicated to Sydani to technology work, to all of the wonderful, innovative things that are happening in the tech world. So for people that are innovative, and one thing I actually like to say, and Folake recalls all of that, is we actually have plans of having an incubator and all of that, where people just come with all kinds of ideas to explain how they want to change the world. And those that win are actually funded or sponsored to come to life. So Sydani Technologies is, again, another platform that again is focused really on technological solutions. So if there are people that are interested in that, so we are doing a lot in technological solutioning, like the ERP that the whole organization is using, that Evelyn mentioned, and how it works, and it's interlinked with many things and continues to grow, is driven by the Sydani Technologies platform. There's the Come Insure platform that's also driven by Sydani Technologies, at an insurance firm that, again, is based on technology, that is trying to drive improvements in insurance, in health, and other areas as time permits and things evolve. So there are many things we're trying to do with technological solutioning, whether it's on the hardware side or the software side or in fintech side, which we also have some things coming up. So there is so much to do, and it's a growing entity. And like I always say, those that come in at the early stages reap the greatest benefits from any such intervention. So if you are a tech person and you're really interested, please feel free to send an email, put in an application, and I'm sure the head of the tech team would be happy to engage and advance those conversations.
Great. I'm excited already for what Sydani Technologies is about to unleash on the world. We look forward to seeing all the amazing stuff. There's another question here. Please keep your questions coming. We're in the last few minutes of the call. Keep your questions coming. Raise your hands if you're more comfortable speaking rather than typing your questions in. We have one question here. How has the Sydani team helped to strengthen women through capacity building in STEM areas or fields? I'll just take that again. How has the Sydani team helped to strengthen women through capacity building in STEM areas or fields? And I think Mrs. Sidney should be the one to answer that question.
You want to repeat that question, please?
How has the Sydani team helped to strengthen women through capacity building in STEM areas?
Great. A few ways, but we can always do better. One is, in terms of the STEM areas, like we'd always say, it's something that we are trying to advance within the team in terms of building the capacity of the different persons. But for the Sydani technology, which is where you have a lot of technological work happening, so we have a programmer who is a lady and who initially was put in the program side doing some work, and after some conversation, it came up, and she came up and said, I'm a programmer, I do UI UX, and I understand and love that better than some of this other side of the work. what can be done for me so that I can continue to advance in that area? And we said, oh, wonderful. This is exactly the kind of things we want to hear. We want people like this to actually advance. And she actually moved from being as part of the Sydani programs team to joining Sydani Tech, and is happily doing coding and growing and doing even bigger things. That is really, really amazing and impressive. So in terms of decision making within the team, if we identify talents, people that are interested in STEM, we happily move them forward. But one thing I want to mention too is, like everyone has said, it's about the mind and it's about what each person wants to do.
Yeah.
So within the Sydani team, for those that are interested, and we always say that too, regardless of who you are, male, female, if there's an area that is interesting and we pray it's in STEM, you will be given all of the support that you need internally and externally to progress in those areas. And this person I mentioned, without saying the name, is a stellar example of, you know, someone actually expressing interest in one area and being given everything they need to succeed and be successful. And that person is happy doing that, and, you know, is growing and all of that. So that is one big area we're doing. There are a few more we'll do in terms of, you know, actually identifying and pushing people, but it's about the women and what they want to do. If you really want to do that and you have the capacity within Sydani to do it, you will be given every resource to make sure you're able to achieve those dreams.
Thank you. If I wasn't a part of Sydani, I really will be thinking about applying right now. So it's really good to hear about all the amazing stuff that you have going on to encourage women and to support their growth. There's another question here. I'm just mindful of the time, so I'm going to take one last question and have everyone on the panel just take 1 minute at the most to give one last tip or advice to people listening in. And that question is, does Sydani have provision for time off or leave that are peculiar to women, such as maternity leave and cases of painful menstruation? Vivian, you have been on maternity leave. I think you're best positioned to answer this question. Please go ahead.
I agree, Dr. Falake. I'm in the best position to answer this, being that I've just left or I've just returned from one. So yes, Sydani has leave options, a lot of leave options, and maternity leave is one of them. They give you have enough time to go out, take care of your child, get out of the post-birth feeling. Yeah, so there's time. There's about 3 months leave for you as a new mother. So there's leave for maternity. There are also other leave that you can take advantage of for the post-menstruation or painful menstruation time you might need. There are annual leaves, there are sick leaves sufficient for you to then obtain. Of course, you don't expect that we then have specific leave for painful menstruation, but there are these other leave, there are varieties of leave that you can then take there's varieties of leave that you can take, in our policy.
Yeah. Thanks, Vivian. Yes, like Vivian said, is maternity leave. You can take time off. You can work from home. Now that technology has made it so easy to work from anywhere in the world, you can work from home on the days that you don't feel so great, or as a woman, you're going through your menstruation and, you know, it's not just working for you to turn up at work and get dressed. You know how those days can feel. So there are a lot of opportunities. There's one last question on machine learning, AI, and helping to ensure that there is data collection to improve machine learning and AI in public health. I would leave that question to Mr. Sidney to address when you're giving your wrap-up comments. And I'll just quickly take wrap-up comments from Evelyn, Rejoice, and Vivian. And then Mr. Sidney, if you could please just respond to that question about what Sydani can play to address data collection issues in terms of supporting machine learning and AI in health. So we'll start with Rejoice quickly in 20, 30 seconds. What word do you have for the people listening in?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. And the word that I would like to wrap this up with is understanding that human beings, which is men and women, are equal, but they're not the same. So in trying to promote equity, I would say it again, understand that men and women are equal, but they're not the same. So understand the nuances that surround a woman being a woman in a working environment, in the house, in the tech space, in whatever field that she decides or she suggests or wants to take up space. Understanding that there are times where she would need a maternity leave, she would need provision of sanitary materials in the toilet, she would need to take up time but still not letting that affect her performance or affect her growth is what we need to do as human beings, as a society, as organizations, and then as the governments, to make sure that we promote equity everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Women and men are equal, but they're not the same. Let that remain somewhere with a hashtag. Vivian, one quick last word.
So for everyone out there, I'll say there's a place for you at Sydani. As far as you are smart, you can solve problems. So regardless of the situation, you being female, you being a mother, there's a place for you here. Sydani is ready to accommodate you.
Amazing.
That's it.
Up space at Sydani. Thank you, Vivian. Evelyn, one quick word from you to wrap up, please.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. I'd just like to quickly say that women and men, need support. So depending on their roles, based on what their gender says, women should be supported to move forward with whatever careers they choose to undertake. And in this case, since we're looking at science and technology now, it would even require more attention from everyone. So I call upon families here, employers, to give all of the supports to women and the girl children as much as is needed to advance their lives and their careers in this path.
Thank you. Thank you, Evelyn. Support women, embrace equity. Mr. Sidney, over to you for a final wrap up, please.
Yes. Thank you again, everyone. And I must say this has been a very insightful session, listening to everyone, answering the questions. Thank you all for joining and being part of this discourse. In terms of the question about how Sydani can support the learning and machine learning, AI, and direct investment in public health, the idea around lack of uniform health data collection is something that the country has been thinking about, but this is something that we have to engage with at a different time because it's a long conversation. But we already have one platform or maybe two platforms that try to bring all of the health data into one place. Like we know the DHIS2, which is open and keeps expanding with different programs being added to it, and it's a wonderful platform that actually has all of that. In terms of now having an individualized database and all, the country at the national level is also making a lot of efforts toward that. And Sydani is part of the thinking, part of the creation to make sure that that kind of a system comes alive, where you're able to have data from everyone, from every health facility in the country in one repository, whether it be supply side or even demand side data. And then how we're able to apply big data science to that data to draw more insights and be able to use it. Sydani is at the fore of that, working with the national team, working with international partners, working with the Ministry of Health and others, even with those that are actually leading the DHIS2 programming in Nigeria. We are having engagements and interactions with all of them and doing quite some work there. Now, at the time, we're already well over time by 4 minutes, wouldn't allow a more in-depth conversation, but that's something we'll be happy to pick up at another time. You can reach out directly to some of the team and those conversations can be had. But yes, that's something we are doing and working with the national and states to make that happen. As we come to a close, a few things I want us to go out with is, if you're a lady, think it and you can be it. If you can think that you can lead and be a champion, be something, that is where it starts. Most times, like Evelyn said and a few others, a lot is in our mind. Yes, there are barriers, but it takes people like you to actually break those barriers. Sometimes those barriers are even psychological barriers that don't exist, but they just need someone with grit and with force to come in and break them. So a lot of times you think, oh, that's why they call it a glass ceiling. It's there. It just needs someone to stretch their neck or their head long enough and they'll crash, they'll break it, and then, it will be gone. So all of those things sometimes are in the mind. So how are we thinking about what we can be? If you can, in my diary, there is no impossibility. In my notes, everyone knows that there's nothing that is impossible. It does not exist. Whatever there's a problem, there is a way to fix it if you just think right about it. So if you can have that mentality as a woman, then you can do anything. You can be anyone. You can occupy any position. And while you are at it, uplift other women, uplift other people, drag them up. As they say, as a leader, your main role is bringing other people up and creating more leaders.
Yeah.
For me, one of my goals is creating entrepreneurs, creating a lot more people that can think and do even better than I am doing. So while you are at it, like I said, uplift others, uplift other women, be a role model to them, and the world will be a better place for us all. Over and thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. We've had such an interesting and insightful conversation that we've even gone over the time. Apologies to you all, but thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everyone on the panel, Evelyn, Rejoice, Vivian, for sharing your experiences, your journeys. Thank you to Mr. Sidney. If you're still interested in engaging with us, feel free to go to our LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook platforms, and you'd have someone respond to any questions you have. Also, feel free to go on our website. We have the Sydani Fellowship Program starting in May. The new cohort is starting in May. Every description and detail you need to know about the program is on our website. You want to apply, you want to share with someone in your network to apply, please feel free to do that and reach out to us if you have any questions. We'll keep engaging and we'll keep doing the amazing stuff that we're doing. Thank you, everyone. And again, happy International Women's Day to you all. Let today be a public holiday for all women. Have chocolates, take sweets, dance, embrace equity, and take up space. Bye. Thank everyone for coming. Bye.